Welcome back to the Ginger and Honey podcast. And it's your girl, the Lioness.
And it's your girl, Nik Valentine. And sometimes I'm Ginger.
Sometimes I'm Honey. But depending on the day,
it can go either way.
So today we have a lovely guest in the studio with us. My lovely nephew, Shane.
What's up?
So in honor of Pride Month, we are going to get a little knowledge and schooling about...
We're going to get gay.
about gay living lifestyle and all things gay.
Okay. This works.
And so we're going to start off with our game. But in all truthfulness, this is Shane, and he is Nik Valentine's oldest child. Yes. So welcome to the show, Shane.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Doing the thing, you know what I'm saying? It's cute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Keeping it cute and classy.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Proud of y'all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're proud of you, and thank you for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, like Tiana said, this is the Lioness. This is my oldest son, firstborn.
OG.
Yes, the OG. And I had Shane at 18, so I was a teen mother. So that in itself was a journey and experience for us. So let's start by talking about that. Like, what was your experience growing up? And with me being young, I was feeling like we kind of grew up together. There's a lot of things that I learned along the process.
I remember being young and knowing that for some reason, I just always remembered that you had me at 18, but I didn't really think of it as like, I have a teenage mom, you know? Mm-hmm. It was never like a thing. It wasn't until later in life I was like, I kind of realized like, my mom had me young, and really realized what that came with or what it didn't come with, I guess you could say. Yeah. But I feel like I had a normal childhood. I think even in hindsight, I'll always give you, I guess, praise, because when I, see other moms or just hear, this is one thing I will say. I started to appreciate my family a lot more when I started seeing other people's families. Mm-hmm. Like going to people's house, I'm like, that's your mom? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay. So I always, give you your props, because, you didn't leave me with person A and B to go out on the weekends, and you weren't like in the streets or anything like that. So, it was pretty normal. I never felt like I had a teenage mom, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just in hindsight, I can see where, you being a younger mom took a toll on, you, and maybe how hard certain things were. But if anything, it just, made me appreciate you as a mother, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you. There were definitely challenges. I'm sure. But I would say, other than going away to college, that was my initial plan. I still attended college. I would bring you even to school.
I have those memories of being on college campus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I really don't feel like it stopped me from doing much that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It was just me not being mature enough for some of the responsibility that I had to step into, but I stepped into it,
mm-hmm.
So I had to grow. And I think as women, it's more natural for us to step into mm-hmm. those responsibilities and doing the things that we have to do for our children, regardless of the age. And definitely had a great support system. Mm-hmm. And because I did go out now.
Yeah, but it wasn't, yes, you did, yes. Yeah, but it wasn't like, like grandma raised me, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't that type of party.
Neglectful mm-hmm. to still be young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
you had a good maternal instinct.
Absolutely.
To be young.
Yeah.
A lot of, some women just don't have it.
Yeah, that's very true.
And also, honestly, I think anytime, I think no matter how old you are, whenever you have your first child, it's still a learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Trial
You're
and
the
error.
practice, baby.
This I know. I'm aware.
Yes, but you were a great child. You know, I had a great pregnancy. It was like so textbook, and you always just a good, laid back, good baby. You know, respectful young child, and even through your adolescence, like you were really a good kid. Like we really didn't bump heads, I'll say, and
until like I was like, okay, let me let you finish.
Yeah, and until you're coming out.
No, I disagree.
Before that?
Yeah,
okay.
I think just naturally, me was always my mouth.
Oh,
so I always, but it wasn't a disrespect. Like I would never like say anything crazy to my parents.
Yeah,
but I mean, even now, it's like, I mean, why?
Yeah,
like, what you mean? Yeah, like, really, like,
shut up.
because, like, I think I've learned that I kind of have an issue with authority. I don't like really being told what to do and stuff like that. And unless I want you to tell me what to do, but other than that, like, I just never
solicited advice.
Right, and I just even to this day, like, I've never that whole do what I say and ask no questions just does not work for me.
Yeah, now you're definitely not gonna follow.
Yeah, so
somebody said it.
So I think that's where we bumped heads. Yeah, but it was more so like once I got into like middle school, I think that's when. But it wasn't anything crazy. I just think it was, just talking back, I guess, or just having something to say, and it would just be like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "But why?"
Right? Yeah.
But that's natural for that age, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just
same with my teachers.
Yeah, definitely had to have conversations with teachers. But that was
because who are they talking to? Like you're not my dad, so
you would definitely buck authority in that way for sure. But let me explain. but no, mom. Yeah, she said or she did.
Vocal,
yeah, very vocal. Still to this day.
Yeah, good.
But I do, even though it could, we can bump heads with it sometimes. Like I said, just be quiet. Jeez.
No.
Right. But I respect that you have a strong mind. You're very educated, very smart, and you research, you know a lot, especially we were just recently talking about how much of a historian you are. I'm like, wow. I don't know that. Yeah, Mom, because you do know. I'm like, I didn't, but thank you. So you will break down history. So I love that you don't take everything at face value. You find out, get the information for yourself.
And definitely power to the people.
Yes, for sure.
For sure.
Yes.
I love black people.
I know that's right.
Blackity black, everything.
And later, black men.
Yeah.
So, right.
So, do you remember the day and so his memory is actually
quite sharp.
It tends to be. Now that I'm getting older, I think my short-term memory isn't as good, but my like things from the past and details and stuff, But do I remember what?
I was going to say that the day that you quote unquote came out, because it wasn't really you coming out, it was me finding out.
Yes, I remember vividly. You were there. Yes. She was there. I remember the date. It was July 5th, 2005. So happy 20 years to us, I guess.
Yeah.
So we were at grandma's house, and you were at the time you still lived in New York. So you were down, you were visiting, so everybody was there. Yeah. Case was there, who's my little brother. Gian, Valencia, you were there. Grandma was there. And by this time, I realized I was gay in 2003, 2004-ish.
And you were how old then?
14. I knew that I was attracted to boys, but I knew that I wasn't supposed to be. And, I also I knew that if you were a guy who liked other guys, that was gay. But everything that I saw as being gay, I didn't like. Like I used to like make fun of gay boys in school. Like if they were feminine, I would like join in.
Because you were never that.
Yeah. So, and also I knew that everything that I was attracted to was still masculine. So I didn't like feminine guys or anything like that. So that was always like, I remember that was always a thing for me, like trying to figure out, like, was I supposed to be born a girl? Like just really confused with that. And there was a Vibe article in Vibe magazine. And I don't know, this was around the time I was like obsessed with reading. I was reading books, I was reading novels, and I don't know what made me pick up this Vibe magazine. Mind you, it was old because you used to have all these Vibe magazines. So the article, I think this magazine came out in 2001 because Mary J. Blige was on the front. The irony, right? So Mary J. Blige was on the front, and I remember, I think there was something alluding to the article on the front, like on the front page, on the cover, excuse me. And it was basically talking about hip hop and being gay and how hip hop was influencing gay culture. And this was also in the era of people
influencing it.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, yeah, from the style of dress and everything, because when you like think about it, like when you think about like gay guys in the 70s and 80s, like they look different from the early 2000s, late 90s. And then this was also like the era of like the DL man.
Yeah.
So when this was like new and like people were learning about it.
Yes.
So basically, I read that article and it was talking about masculine gay men in different clubs and hip hop, and also how it was kind of not controversial, but it was just interesting because a lot of hip hop has homophobic lyrics.
Yeah.
But you'll go to the club, like, you know what song they used to play a lot in the club? TLK, Chi-Chi Man. On them up, in the Chi-Chi Man.
Oh, yeah.
They would play that in the gay club, and we would go off like, "Oh, this my shit." No, we knew.
Oh, you knew.
Yeah, we didn't care. Yeah.
Okay.
So back when I was younger, that's what it was all about.
What does it mean? I know the lyrics, but what does it mean?
They're talking about people, literally.
Oh.
That's literally what it's about. It's a reggae song.
Yeah.
So
I'm very familiar with the song, but I just
take a listen later on.
I'm too busy into the beat.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But we knew.
We usually.
Yeah.
So that's what the article was about. And that's when I like realized like, oh, there are guys like me. I am gay. And so fast forward, I would like kind of talk to guys. Kind of like this was like the chat room era or whatever. But still not wasn't sexual, hadn't really had a boyfriend or anything like that. And it wasn't.
And you had girlfriends.
I did.
To cut you off.
Yeah. And I still like girls. I still like girls. I mean, even now there might be I'm just attracted to a very specific type, very, very specific type of girl.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, by this time I was about to go to 12th grade. I was about to be a senior in high school. And by this time I had gay friends, and I, had a boyfriend and boyfriends and stuff at this time. So I was on the phone, long story short, I was on the phone with a guy, and we were having a conversation, and I was telling him a story about someone who had kissed me. And you were outside the door, which I remember hearing something. I was like, hold on. And I'm like, yeah, anyway, so he kissed me.
So the joke is though, because that I was eavesdropping.
You were. You were.
She had a can at the door.
You all up in it. I'm talking about in it. You was in my conversation, minding my gay business.
How nosy I am.
Yeah.
I am. I'm not as nosy as I used to be.
Well, that night you were particularly nosy. So I remember.
Generally was not. I just caught the word kiss and him
and kiss.
Him, yes, and I had to back it up. Yeah.
So yeah, I just remember the door flew open.
Yeah.
It, like, in my mind, you kicked the door open.
I mean,
the door flew open, and you was like, hang up the phone. So I was like, literally, dude, I already knew. And you were like, you kissed a boy in the mouth? And I was like, no. And he was like, Shane, I heard you. And I remember I just kept looking straight. You were like right here, and I was just like, and you were like, Shane, are you gay? And I just like slowly nodded my head, yes. And she just left out the room.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah, no, she just...
Yeah, and so that's what I caught. I was downstairs.
Right, everybody was downstairs.
I was downstairs at the kitchen bar doing something.
Mm-hmm. Everybody was chilling until they weren't.
And Nick came flying down the stairs like hysterical and ran into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what just happened?
But see, that was it too, because I was standing there you kind of like rolled your eyes and you left out the room. And I was just sitting there like, and then I remember, and then I was just like, okay, wait. So I remember I walked out the room and I was like, wait, I gotta go get her. And so all these people here. So I was like, Ma. And then you screamed like loud. You was like, oh my God, like so loud. And I just heard everybody's footsteps running. And I was like, well, shit. I already know.
Here we go. The whole house knows now.
So I went downstairs. You were in the bathroom over the toilet. Grandma was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Everybody's like, what's wrong?
I couldn't get it out.
And then, and I just was like standing there and you looked at me and then you looked at Grandma. He was like, well, talk to your grandson. Same, Auntie Anna went upstairs and then Grandma was just rubbing me on my back and she was like, what did Mommy hear? What did she, because she knew I was on the phone. So she just, I guess her into it. She's like, what did she hear? Just tell me. Right. And I was like, she heard, I think I just said that, that I'm gay. And she was like, She just kept saying, she was like, She was like holding herself. She was like, And she was like, and she like straight up asked me, she's like, did somebody touch you? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay. And, I love Grandma, but one of the first things she said, she was like, this is not what God wants for you. And I was like, yeah, I know. But that was pretty, she was like, but, I love you. And that was pretty much it. And I remember Case was like, my little brother, he was like, what's going on? What's wrong? And I was like, Mommy knows. And he was like, oh, because Case knew before, Case was 11 and he knew before anybody. And I think that it was just so dope because I remember one day we were at the house and Case just like looked at me. He's like, I know. And I was like, you know what? He was like, that you're gay. Mind you, he was 11. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Right? Like I think he was actually drawing like, you're gay. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you're gay. Jay is your boyfriend. And that's because, there was this guy I was talking to who at the time played college basketball. And he would come.
Excuse me?
I know, right? And because that was funny because he thought I was older and I thought he was younger. And he was like, and I was like, But, he used to come, him and Case had like a rapport. They would play basketball. And I think maybe one day he seen us because he was like, honestly, he had a girlfriend. And so he was real masculine. But I think he seen me like give him a hug or something. And he was like, yeah, I know that you're gay. Jay's your boyfriend. And you guys hug and stuff. And I just remember like once he told me, I was kind of like, shit. But I was like, yo, don't say anything. He said, I don't know. He's like, no, I don't care. He said, I'm not going to say nothing. I don't care. Yeah. And I just thought that was dope, but literally like a week and a half later.
Yeah. So when I talked to him after, we spoke about it. The first thing he said was, I know. I don't care. I said, well, how do you feel? And he's like, I don't care. He's my brother. I still love him. Mm-hmm. But that was sweet. Yeah.
That's my dog. So, so then eventually, like, Auntie Anna, you came downstairs. And you were just like, you were comforting. You were just like, this, it's okay. Your mom's just upset right now because, we didn't see this coming. And, you said something about the picture of me upstairs. You were like, this is just not, what your mom had envisioned for the little boy in the picture upstairs. Mm-hmm. And I just remember just like sitting there and just kind of like in the twilight zone a little bit, like couldn't really believe what was happening. And then you came downstairs with the phone and was like, here, talk to your father. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, so, yeah. So I got on the phone and the first thing my dad said, he was like, yo. And I was like, what's, and I thought he was going to be flipping.
So did I, because that was a hard call to me because Shane's dad is Bronx, New York. Hard street dude that is some guy's guy. And I did not know how he would handle
I think he knew.
His son, his oldest son, first child. I just thought he's not going to handle this well.
I think he knew.
Worse than me. Really?
I think I just think I don't think I was ever feminine, but I think especially if you're a man, there was certain interests that I had, there was certain interests that I didn't have.
Right.
I think I was at times I think what helped is that I have male cousins and stuff like that, so I was rough. But then there were I just think he knew because he said, so that's what he said. The first thing he said, he was like, "Yo," and I was like, "What's up?" And you want. That's the first thing he said.
That's how Bronx he is.
That's the first thing he said to me. He was like, "You don't like," and I was like, "No, actually, since you asked," I was like, "No, I don't." That's the first thing he said.
You never told me that was the first thing he said to you. If you did,
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but I feel like I would definitely have remembered that. I forget things, but that one.
That was the first thing he said. Memorable. He was like, "Yo, you don't like." I was like, no. He's like, "I knew." He's like, that's what he said. He's like, "I knew." He's like, "Yeah, you like getting your nails done and like, yeah, I knew." Yeah, that's the first thing he said. Because I remember one time he was like, "You got polish, it was clear though." Even to this day, I don't do. He was like, "You like paint?" I was like, "Yeah, it looks nice."
Back then, now it's more accepting. You do see men get them buffed or
But so he's like, "Yeah, you like getting your nails done and shit." I knew. And
very different, very different. And that was hard. And even what Tiana said to you was so perfect because that was what I felt in my heart.
Oh no. Why are you crying?
I don't know, just going back to the moment, and I realized it took me a minute to get through it because that was my thing. And I had to remove that immediately, and it was still a process of acceptance and us being able to have, really good open communication about it all. But the initial, and I'm a little embarrassed to say it was a little shame, because, even with what Grandma said, like we were raised, like Grandma's definitely like straight Christian church. My grandmother was never wore pants.
The church mother.
The church mother never wore pants. So that's what was embedded in us. This is what we were raised on. So this is not God's doing. This is not God's plan. This is not what God wants. This is not acceptable in the sight of our Lord, and, but then it's known, well, he created all of us, and he loves all his children. And I never was going to stop loving mine, and so it's okay. This is what it is now. Now what? So I had to grow into that, like I said, just that acceptance. But the immediate thing was once I called your dad, and he did after we spoke, for 5-10 minutes, and he was like, "Go downstairs and hug your son. Go downstairs and hug your son."
Oh, he never told me that.
Yeah. Yep. And that's when I came down,
And for me, I had a feeling always, not something I discussed with you. So I wasn't terribly shocked by the news, right? So I was able to kind of
embrace it.
Talk to you about it, but then kind of be comforting to him too, because I kind of knew, You want to talk about our first experience where you?
Well, I've had a lot of experiences like that, and that's what I mean. I think that even in hindsight, well, first I think I don't knock you for how you felt because I think you were scared. It was a different time. This is 20 years ago,
It was a different time, and I didn't want that. Like Tiana said, it immediately changed everything. My vision, what I saw for my son, and I can't imagine the pain of losing a child, but from what I felt,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like this has to be the closest that feeling may, what that may feel like, because it's
the grief of a vision
of your perception or what or the version of me that you thought I was going to be
for all of these years, from birth to what, 16, 17.
Yeah, I was 16.
Yeah, that was, I had a vision, and that killed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also, I think, this is the early 2000s.
Yes.
It's not that far removed from the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Also, we were in Atlanta. So, I mean, I remember seeing gay guys, and, that's just not what you wanted for me. So I could understand that.
Because it was a huge stigma.
Yeah. Yes.
And a fear.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even about a lifestyle. It was a fear of what
could be
for you in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, so I like, to the story between me and you, I've had, so basically one time, I was because we lived in Atlanta, but we're from New York. So I was always in New York for the summer. So it was me, you, Gian, and Case. We were at like McDonald's. I was still real young because we were getting Happy Meals. And I always hated, I'm glad they stopped this, but I always hated when McDonald's did the boy and girl toys, because the boy toys was always whack. I didn't want no damn Hot Wheels. You know what I'm saying? This is a car. Okay, now what? So it was boy girl toy time season, and it was Barbie or Hot Wheels. The Barbies was cute. Yeah, so
he was like, Barbie.
No, basically I wanted to. So
and you thought, okay, two boys.
Well,
two
yeah,
girls.
so that's what happened. So it was our Happy Meals, and they're like boy or girl, and then you're like boy, and in Case for some reason it was Case. Case was like, I want a girl toy, and then you kind of paused. It was like one boy, one girl, and I was like, well, shit, I want a girl toy too, and then you was like,
now what is going on?
2 girl toys. And I was like, And I remember we went to grandma's house after, and I remember you telling her like, yeah, they both wanted girl toys.
You sure you didn't hit Case and like,
no, I don't know what. I think Case was just always been like this creative. I don't know what that was about, but he gave me the courage to ask for what I wanted. I wanted the girl toys.
He was reading your mind.
And I definitely remember you pausing like 2 girl toys. So yeah.
Like,
but that, even when I look back, like I was never.
Give the kids what they want.
Thank God, because other people would have been like, no.
Yeah. Right.
But I didn't go through like bullying or anything like that. I didn't go through things that some other gay kids, went through growing up. However,
especially being that young.
Yeah. However, I will say moving to Atlanta is when I started noticing things were different. I never really paid attention to complexion or anything like that until we got to Atlanta. That's when people would start, like, is your mom white and stuff? Like, colorism is real. And then we're in the South.
Yeah.
So that's when people started pointing out that I was light skinned, my accent being from New York.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, somebody would be like, you gay. It would be every once in a while, somebody would sniff it out. Yup. Every once in a while. It will always be so random, and it will always catch me off guard, because it was kind of even before I realized it. And then also when I realized it, I'm like, shit, I'm thinking I'm like in here, but it will always be something. It will be one person like, I remember one time I had a crush on this boy. Mind you, he almost fought too, but it was in high school. We were in high school, and he was like, hey, Shane, he was like, you got the TP2 album, R. Kelly TP2? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'm going to come to your house after school, and he's like, I need to burn it. And I was like, okay, cool. So he came to my house.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, to copy the CD to a blank CD.
Yeah.
So,
right, for the young.
Yeah, it was Bradley Lampkins.
Mm-hmm.
Yup, and he came to the house. I gave him the CD. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. This girl says she's gonna let me beat if I play the CD for her. And I was like, Dag, Bradley, I didn't know you was like that. And he was like, what? He was like what? He's like, he said it like jokingly, but it would be things like that. And I had a waitress teach time. I was in school suspension for whatever reason. And
I know why.
I was in school suspension. I think I was like in maybe 10th, 11th grade. And, you know, all the bad kids, we sitting up in class, not supposed to be talking or whatever. And there was this girl, and she was mad funny. I thought she was funny, so she was being silly or whatever. And he was just sick of her because we're not supposed to be doing nothing. He was sick of her, but I'm laughing. And then he sat back and he looked at me and he looked at everybody else. And he's like, did y'all notice Mr. Johnson, the only one in here giggling with the girls?
Oh, why didn't you ever tell me that?
Because I was, what I'm supposed to say? Ma, they think I'm gay. Like, what I'm supposed to say? This was before. This was.
We would have been all over that.
Yeah, for sure. But again, that I was embarrassed and I was ashamed, so I'm not gonna bring that home.
Wow.
So yeah, I remember that.
That's horrible.
It wasn't him. It happens,
very
but
inappropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
We would have went up one side of him and down the other.
I mean, I could find out with this because I hold grudges. Things can be done for sure.
It ain't too late.
It's not at all.
Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, and you know, you just never know what those experiences are like for you growing up, and even for me, hindsight, I realized there were little things that you would do that I would be critical of. So that's what later on, when I thought about it, I was like, it might have been some, you know, little feminine things you were doing, or, you know, that I felt like, stop doing that.
Yeah, my hand.
Yeah, stop doing that. Why you chewing like that? Or
it was just my hand. I remember. Only thing I remember was I was standing like this one time. He was like, "What are you? Stop putting your hand like that." And I stopped. Yep. Okay, that's the only thing I remember you being like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, I just felt like it. There were times that I was critical. Was critical. Yeah.
But yeah, you just, but not of my ways, just in general.
Yeah.
I do remember feeling like, you know, when you went to the prom, went with a girl, and it was like this glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
That Nick and Grandma had. And I was like,
baby, that shit
is
so.
Like, I was the only one that was like, oh, this is real cute, but this this is not.
Yeah, I really wanted to take a boy.
They were like, I was like, oh my God, he's going to the prom with the girl. I was like, and
I was like, yeah,
that's not cover up. Yeah, it's not happening.
It wasn't.
I don't see him going the other way with this.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, actually, because they didn't know about me in school, but the first day of school, everybody knew, and I wasn't ready to, but I had to step into being openly gay before I was ready. And I remember just doing a lot around that time to be openly gay, but let people know, like, this ain't what you think. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't, you could try it if you want to, but I'm gonna fold you up. And just be like a masculine representation, because there was no representation. Even to this day, there's no guys on TV and everything that looks like me and my people for the most part, unless they're like DL or something like that. There's no openly gay masculine men. And I do remember at the time I wanted to take a guy to the prom to be like, I get, you know what I'm saying? But the N-word, my bad. There it goes. But yeah, I took a girl.
Yep. So yeah, I just remember the first day of school. We were held in homeroom longer than normal.
This is your senior year?
The first day of my senior year, yep. And by this time, my family knew I was more, you know, talking to guys, had gay friends. So by this time, I had accepted that I was gay, but it was still new for me, you know? And we got out of home. They released everybody out of homeroom. And instantly, people kept coming up to me like, Shane, and to this day, I don't know what happened. But somebody knew somebody that said something, but apparently everybody was talking about I heard Shane is gay.
Well, was it from the boy who you did the tape for? Maybe your response to him?
No,
was that different?
That was still, he had been out of high school. That was when I was a freshman. The TP2, the burn the CD.
Burning the CD. I'm sorry.
Let's clarify.
Tape. Burning the CD.
No,
sorry.
I think it was just, and then at that time I started being a little sloppy, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I had told a couple of people, when I was a junior, my first boyfriend, my first everything was a senior. And, we started being seen together a lot and stuff like that.
Was that the time when you had the fake girlfriend and y'all went out and you came to the house?
His best friend was my fake girlfriend. Who's a lesbian, by the way.
Yeah. And then they dropped you off one day and I met y'all at the door. I was like, well, let me meet your friends.
Yeah, he was
he tried to hop out and y'all go ahead now.
Yeah, he was a little bit you could tell that he was gay. He was definitely a little bit more feminine than I was.
Absolutely.
And even and
that might have been that might have been when I started to listen in, had some suspicions.
You did ask me.
Yeah, he was concerning
him, and I was like, "That's the homie."
But what was funny, I do remember this too, because I say he was real loose neck, and I said, but I said, now what's going on with your man? Is he gay? And you're like, no. And I said, well, do you see some tendencies that you might assume he is? And you were like, no. I said, now that's a problem. Now, if he's not, but if you don't see him,
yeah. I mean, yeah. And he was my first. So, it was what it was. But okay. I mean, I honestly even kind of quickly moved on from that.
Okay.
Because even now I'm attracted to masculinity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I've grown. You could have your ways, and I do like somebody who's comfortable, and we could talk shit or whatever. But yeah, so that was so people knew, and it was coming to me like, Shane, I heard you gay. So at first I was like, no, what?
Yeah.
And it was throwing me for a loop because I'm like, bitch, this is the first day of my senior year.
Yeah.
And it's just coming at me. And I remember, I hold grudges. McCoy Grant.
Not you gave her full government.
Mm-hmm. It was the end of school, and I was
allegedly.
And the funny thing is, I was waiting for my basketball player boyfriend to pick me up in his Crown Vic. Yup. I was waiting for him to pick me up. I was sitting in front of the school, and she came up to me. I was standing by myself, and she came up to me, and she was like, Shane, they've been saying all day that you were gay, and if you are, you can tell me. I don't care. And I don't know if I was just tired or what, but I was just like, yeah. And she's like, okay, sure, and turned around and walked away. So I confirmed it. So it was out there.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I just had to make myself comfortable with being openly gay. Yeah. And my best friend at the time, Jamal, I remember when I saw him, I felt like I wanted to run the other way, and he grabbed me. He was like, yo, and his first thing he said, he was basically, why you ain't tell me? He's like, he was like, why you ain't tell me? You know what I'm saying? So nobody really switched up on me. And I think once just said yes, and I think it just helped that I presented a certain type of way too.
Yeah.
But it was a couple of people, but I didn't have no issues. The girls and that's the thing too, you girls, you know what I'm saying? Y'all missed y'all mark. When I was with it, y'all was acting all coy. Then when y'all know I'm gay, I wanted, I always liked you. I was like, well, where was you 2 years ago?
you would have hit?
Yes, I like girls until I was like, well, this is so much more fun.
Oh.
I had literally girls tell me I was gonna let you take my virginity.
What?
We're seniors. What you was waiting for?
What are you waiting for, ma'am? Time is up.
But then also, the teenage boys, they was really, aggressive.
They're more aggressive.
That wasn't me.
Yeah.
I was,
yeah. So have you ever been with a woman, female? No.
I've kissed girls. And,
okay.
And I've had experiences, but no, I would with the right girl.
What?
Okay,
wait.
Maybe I shouldn't say that.
I'm like, wait.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Would have or would?
What you mean?
You said would. Today would or you would have?
No, I would. I'm attracted to the Lauren London type. I like the girls that look innocent, all that big ass. No, that's too much for me, sis. I can't. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no BBL girl. No offense. I like the innocent.
Well, no one here is offended.
Right. Yeah.
But, I like the girls who look innocent, slightly, a little, they around the way, but they cute, they pretty. And, I could get with it. But, I mean, sorry, Mom, but a man would also have to be involved for me to, couple shots,
Oh, I mean, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised to hear you say that.
I don't think I could really just be with just a girl. I'm not like the things that I like are masculine.
Okay. So is that, I know, there's so many terminology and names for different people, how they view themselves and their gender, well, not their gender, their preferences. Is that considered, is it pan or fluid?
Pansexual is when you're attracted to anything, as long, not anything, but
male or female.
Just if you're attracted to it.
Yeah.
No, I'm gay.
Okay. Clear that up. Oh my gosh. You're so silly.
So there's so many like levels.
Yeah.
So many ways to go with this.
Nowadays,
I can't keep up. Definitely to the different terminologies. It's just more so I can't keep up. I don't know what's what. So like top, bottom, here, there, everywhere.
Right.
It's like a Dr. Seuss book. So I don't want to be ignorant to any of it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be well informed. I don't want to be offensive to anyone.
Yeah.
It's just that it's so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to necessarily do a deep dive into the research, but I do have lots of questions because I don't know who's who, what's what, how it's going.
As far as what?
Total loss.
For to be addressed and what certain terms even mean.
Correct. So I'm kind of learning as I go, and then things are constantly evolving. And so I'm not trying to use any old terminology that, we grew up on. That
I'll just keep it simple. Keep it simple. So if you are a male, if you're a guy and you like other guys, you're gay. If you are a woman who likes other women, you're a lesbian.
Yeah.
If you like, if you like both, you're bisexual. Now, as far as like trans thing, whether if you were born one sex or one gender and you transition to the next gender, then you're transgender. And then there are other things,
it's those.
But those are the basics. That's all you need. To me, that's all you need.
But there's so much more.
Right. Well, just whatever. If this is the thing, when you go out into the world, especially now, again, it's very different. Even for me, within the past 5 to 10 years, a lot has happened and changed. So when you go into the world now, because now there are people that kind of in a way present like me, have a beard or whatever, and they'll tell you that they're transgender. They'll tell you that they're a woman. So do I agree with that? Do other people agree with that? That, whatever. But just like if somebody like corrects you or whatever, just whatever, whatever, you want to be an elephant, you're an elephant, So no, seriously, like, in a respectful manner. Yeah. But I just respect, and I also check myself because I do have some controversial opinions and ideologies or whatever, but I also know there are people that still look at me and think I'm disgusting and think what I, and don't, think I'm, abomination, all these things. Yeah. So it will be a lot of nerve for me to be like, well, you're not, so it's just,
yeah. And I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the term tranny is considered like derogatory or offensive.
It is technically, and it can be, and I don't want to speak for them. But I have a lot of I know a lot of transgender women that I'm close with, and I think it's more so derogatory if it's coming from someone who is not trans. Like if, a woman's like, yeah, that's a tranny over there, then, it's kind of, but, they may call each other like, yeah, we're trannies or whatever. But that's just like with anything, like we say the N word, but don't you say it, Jack. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the same thing. You just kind of, if that's not you, that's not your culture, that's not your world, you just kind of have to respect it. But the proper term is transgender.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what the bottom line is about, respect.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah. You said we're all human.
We're all human. We all bleed red.
That's right.
Right? It's just, I want to be informed. Not enough to go do all the research myself because it's constantly changing, but I do want to be mindful and respectful. And so Okay. If like, so how does the dating world go?
With child, with what?
How do y'all figure it out?
Oh, like who's gonna do who? Is that what you mean, or
or dating?
Oh, like
Who's
I'm asking now. That's the thing. So wait, do you mean like as far as like roles, like who pays?
Yeah,
or something?
like you meet.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody. So I'll just my personal experience. At the end of the day, I've come to grips, and also people that have dated that I do have a feminine side, but I also have a very masculine side. Guys that have dated have jokingly been like, yeah, you like a hood bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, so okay. So, but for me, right, I'll know that we're both men. Yeah. So like, let's say it's a date. If I ask you on a date, I'm going to pay because I asked you.
Right.
Sir, if you ask me on a date, I'm expecting you to pay.
Right.
Because you asked me, not because,
So when do y'all square the other parts away?
Like the sexual part, you have to be specific. Very early.
Okay.
Yeah, very early. Well, I mean, yeah, like if I'm dating you, baby, what you like? We gonna get to
It's okay.
You are a very grown man.
We've come a long way in our journey.
I am a very gay male. So so I tell people, I keep it simple. When people, whether it's like somebody I'm dating or like, somebody who's curious and just wants to know what it's like, whatever, and they ask me what I like, I'm gay. I like gay sex. So
without getting into the specific.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Gay sex. We're gonna do everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I might not do everything with everyone. Like there's been guys I was this way with and guys I was that way with, but it works best when we're gay together. Yeah.
We're just all gay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Happy to be here.
Look, everybody's doing the bending. Pause. Sorry, Mom. There's certain things I would not say on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Keep it cute.
I'm trying.
But I mean, I'm sure that's something.
But yeah, no, it's just
people want to know, not just me.
Yeah, no, you can never, and then also you can never tell. And this is for everybody. Yeah, and this is for everything. This is for gay, straight, whatever. You don't know what people like behind closed doors.
That's right.
It does not matter what they look like, how they carry themselves behind closed doors. Because I've been surprised, like, okay. I thought, okay, yeah, like, okay, I know that's right. Hey, freak out. she.
My child, for sure.
So yeah, so we establish these things, and I mean, as far as dating, I guess what you were referring to, it's just a more so conversation.
Yeah.
And then like as far as I guess chivalry, we're both men, so
there's some mutual respect.
Yeah.
And how we do things.
Yeah.
Well, even I know people have made assumptions too. If someone's been straight forever but have bad relationships, and then they decide that they're gonna try the same sex, and it's like
I don't really see that with women. With men, I think that's more so women.
Women that do that, and it's a different experience. But I've heard that people say, a relationship is a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's no easier, to deal with someone of the same sex. Because, of course, we talk about the Venus and Mars. And men not understanding women.
Right.
I think it's harder.
Conversation. It's harder.
I do find it harder. I think for men, and I may be wrong, I'm not a woman who dates women, but I think for men, it could be harder because, I mean, listen, when women say like, I hate men, I get it. Because men suck. And no, seriously, like men can really suck. And when you think about the nature of a man, right? They want to lead, they want to be right. You know, it's you on my bus. This is so now you have two of, but even when they're feminine, you know, just naturally sometimes you know you want to be in control.
Yeah.
And it's just you know, and then even when you talk about you know monogamy, you know it. We all know it's hard for people, let alone especially men, you know, to be monogamous. So now you have two.
Right.
Yeah. So it's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder.
So do you think that's where the stereotype too that like gay men
are promiscuous?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say whores.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, I do know some gay whores for sure. I would say no. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. Yeah, that is where it comes from. You know, men are horny individuals, and sex is easier to acquire because you know it's not like oh no I'm you know it's like oh shit yeah you know what I'm saying so yeah but there is levels there's levels just like with straight men you know I think men tend to have more sexual partners and then there's some straight men that are like all right bro like you don't gotta F all the girls in Atlanta you know what I'm saying so it's the same but I do think that is where it comes from the stereotype of gay men being promiscuous. And I don't want to say it's true, but I'm not going to say it's not true either.
Okay.
You know,
it has truth to it.
There's definitely truth to it for sure. For sure. For sure.
Then you go into it setting boundaries like, you know, we would in just any other relationship.
Yeah. Wait, what you mean?
With the person, you know.
Like if we're going to be like, oh, yes, yeah, for sure. But then just like with regular, you know, straight relationships, like they'll be like, yeah, I'm monogamous. Okay.
Is it okay to say straight?
I mean, I say straight.
But I guess. Old school gay. You old school.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Like you know what I mean. Like so.
A homo thug. That's what they were saying in the article. I was like, a homo thug. Where they at? I want one. Where the homo thugs? Too many bitches. Okay. Hello.
Yeah. So you know like they.
Soldiers in here. That was me. Okay. I need a soldier. Still.
Well, just like, you know, we can be, I've been told that I could be hyper masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is about a generation that we were raised in, plus the demographic, right? Plus you throw hip hop in there. Very influential.
And your environment, how you, how you were raised, how whatever.
Yeah, all that. New York, super hardcore, you know, and so we're just now starting to really peel back the layers to be a little more soft. But I know it's in there, right? And so the same thing with you, like, you know, we raised you. So there's that like hardcore influence.
So where don't be fooled by his gayness.
It's soul man.
And do. They know, look, the girls know. That's attached to my name. I'm retired though. I'm retired.
So, you know, when we talk about kind of like the old school, like you old school, you old. Now at this point, you an old gay man.
Yeah, I am. We the uncles. When me and my people be out, we really be looking at it's these. There'll be oh my god. And then you know I guess we like it's like this generation of people that look younger, you know, because back in the day, 30 something looks different than what it looks like now. So like it be guys in my face, and then I'm like, excuse me, sir. They be like 21, beat it.
Wow.
I don't like younger guys. I've always like preferred them to be a little older.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't.
So that's good.
So when I go out, I've definitely noticed that me and my crew. We're the uncles. I mean, and they're still like the younger generation. They're still like masculine guys and all that stuff. But there's just a generational difference with when it comes to certain things. And I just noticed that we're the older people now. It's the younger guys' turn. I might have, but not really. You know, I mean, esque. You know. Yeah, I try, but it's something you just gotta learn yourself. But I'll have people younger than me, and I'll be like, all right, like it's, you need to kind of move like this, and these things can happen, especially with the things that I've experienced.
Yeah.
And, you know, things I wish I could have avoided.
Right?
Yeah. Safety. You know, yeah, you know, and the, you know,
journey.
For sure. Thank God science has advanced so much, you know, where there's things like PrEP, things that prevent you from catching certain diseases. And then just even, I mean, even when just everything, just when you're gay, I think you experience a lot younger, possibly, depending on when you came out. And I think that like everything from like the drugs to it's just like there's like, I don't want to put it like I don't want to say lifestyle, but there's just things that can come with it. And and I think that's why it's so important. I thank you for staying in my life. I think it's so important, no matter what's going on with your child, just don't ever push them away, because what you teach them will stick with them. And, you know, just having your family to, like, my family has saved my life to this day, you know, so just having that is really important, because I've seen what it has been like for people who don't have that, you know, people I've dated and stuff. I've seen people really get spit up and chewed out and stuff like that. So yeah, you need to have a solid foundation, I guess you could say. It's very important. Yes. Yep.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this has been amazing.
It was a lot, right?
It's dope. It's dope. And yeah, very informative, very rich conversation. And so we would definitely like to continue the conversation.
For sure.
And so we'll have you back for part 2.
That's cute. I'm with it. And I know I really appreciate you guys. Like, even it wasn't easy, you know. It took us some time to get to a place, and being able to talk to you about people you've met, people I've dated, even though I hate them. No, I'm joking. But you know, you met people I've dated and stuff like that, and being able to have those conversations. Even my dad one time was like, "Why you say they? I know what's up. Like, it's him." So that it means a lot. So I appreciate that, and I'm thankful. I'm blessed, and I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. Thank you. Thanks, Mama.
There have been some challenges, but I'm glad we stuck it out.
Yes.
And I'm proud of the man you are and have become.
Thank you.
But we will be back for more.
Yes. So Ginger and Honey Podcast, please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will see you soon.
Look, Ginger and Honey with a little sugar.
Yes.
Sugar in a tank.